Hi, I'm Jennifer Zenzels and I'm a clinical social worker, and I've been practicing in therapy for about 16 years now, 17 years. And one of the things that I am really focused and passionate about is meditation as a wellness practice. And so I've done therapy for 16 or 17 years, I forget how long. And what I really came to know was that there is an important aspect of wholeness to all of us, that if we're addressing all the different parts of our lives, people healed better through their therapy. So that's how I sort of got really passionate about incorporating all of these parts into our lives. And in the last year, I decided to get much more serious about my own practice. So, right, I'm like always a learner, and decided that I really needed to be doing something to center myself and find some peace. And I'd gotten away from it. And so I had really intermittent practice before like the last year. I kind of do a little bit, I dabble, and then I'd stop, and then I'd dabble a little bit, and then I'd stop. And so in this last year, when I had a lot of things going on in my life, I really needed something to help, like I said, get centered. So I decided to really dig in. It took me to be really uncomfortable, which is like, one of those life lessons that usually we're growing the most when we're the most uncomfortable. And so that was kind of what prompted my practice to be much more steady. And what I found was how amazing this practice is. And so I'm going to talk a little bit today with anyone who has either already had a practice and you're sort of dusting stuff off if it's been a while and you want to work more towards a consistent practice, or for somebody who is maybe just beginning. And so either way, everyone is welcome. And so one of the first things I want you to do is I want you to take a moment, I just want you to have a breath, and I want you to set an intention for being a student, for being a learner, because for me, that's one of the things I value most about life, is consistently learning and taking in new information and being open to that concept that I'm always learning something new and important and valuable if I'm listening and I'm paying attention. So I'm going to encourage all of you to take a moment and just do that too. There's an intention about just being open and aware and taking information in and being willing to just kind of sit with that. So the first thing we'll do today is I'm going to walk you through my meditation space a little bit. I'm going to be clear. So rule one, there are no rules. Okay, so I'm going to show you my space so you see how I have set that up. You do not need a space, okay? It's not required. What is required is your willingness to be a student. That's it. Your willingness to try, to practice, which is why we call it a practice. There's no other needs necessary, but I'm going to show you my space because I will be doing some meditations from my space. And so I'll let you kind of see what it looks like here. And so I will tell you, this was my office space, and I have sort of created it a little bit differently because I really wanted to have a room that was a sacred spot for me. So you'll see here I have a few things that are really important to me. This is one of my favorite symbols for spirituality. It's about awakening. And I love it. And the lotus blooms every single day anew. And it goes under the water and mud and it comes up clean every single morning like nothing ever touched it. So nothing adheres to it, which is a great lesson for all of us. So that's why I have that here. No candles necessary, right? Just showing you my thing. This is my Tibetan singing bowl, which I absolutely love. So what I do for my practice is I usually ring that once before I practice. And then I ring it at the very end of my practice, as honoring that my time has begun and ended, right, for that moment. And then I have some mala beads. We'll not even get into that today. And then I have a little Buddha sitting there, just as my reminder. You'll notice down here I've got some extra things. I've got a box of incense that I use sometimes. Again, not required. I have a prayer box. If I have somebody I'm really concerned about, I will actually put a note for them in there. And then these are some cards by Gabby Bernstein. And so each day when I sit down to practice, I'll randomly sneak through there and grab one forward. And they just have really awesome messages on about growth, etc. And so the rest of this office is really pretty just soothing. The weather outside is kind of rough today. But I've created this space to be organized and clean and peaceful for me, right? So your space would be different. Oh, and you notice that I have a yoga mat. I also have this guy right here. It's a pillow. Guys, it's not a special pillow. I literally bought it at IKEA. And it's a normal pillow. So obviously I'm facing my meditation space, so you guys can't see it. You get to see what's behind me for my workspace. But I wanted to let you see where I'm actually sitting and how I set up my space. It is not required. It took me about a year to decide to set up a meditation space. So it is not anything you need. You can do it when you sit up in bed in the morning. You can do it in a quiet space at work. You can do meditation anywhere. It's literally accessible to you at all times. And so I just like this space because it's calming, it's peaceful, it's quiet. My family even knows that when I come in here and shut the door, that I'm out. Like, I'll be out in a while, right? So they just know to respect that, which is really crucial, because if you're trying to do meditation in a really loud environment or really busy, or like we've got 3 dogs. So if I have that door open, they're like up in my face and they're wanting me to, right? So it's just like we have kids. Fortunately, my daughter's older now, so she's not necessarily gonna do that same thing, but even she's 12, almost 13, and she's like, hey, got something I need. So setting up a space for yourself just to have quiet and peace and have that, time honored is really, really cool. And so I would recommend that you let people know if you need to, if you live in a home with other people. If you don't, no worries. If you're living with people and animals, I do recommend finding a nice quiet spot so that you can just spend this time with yourself. And that's it. It does not require Tibetan bowls and lotus candles, and right, it does not, okay? But I did want you guys to see kind of how my setup is, because it's part of my my practice and what I find really beneficial. So with that being said, we're gonna talk a little bit about the mechanics of meditation. So meditation is, above all things, just becoming aware of the present moment. Meditation is just becoming aware of the present moment, okay? So we might become aware of the present moment by just becoming aware of our breath coming in and leaving our bodies. It might be noticing the sounds that we hear in the moment. Right now, I can hear someone outside with their snowblower. I have really very soft music playing in the background. I would probably notice my breathing, right? We can focus on what we smell. Do I have a candle burning? Do I have essential oils somewhere? Do I have, is my window open and the grass is growing and I can smell this amazing, people are mowing and I can smell that beautiful, fresh smell in my house. It can be anything. So any of our senses, we can access those and use those as a form of kind of like an anchor, which is just something we're just spending time focusing on, right? So I want you to take one moment as a student, as a learner, right? And I want you to think about, what are your myths that you think about meditation? Because most people think of meditation, and literally, and I'm not joking, I think most of us think of that person who's like, right? Sitting still and they have zero thinking and they're, right? Totally chill. Awesome. That's great. That's not necessarily what we're shooting for. If that's what you would like as a practice, that's amazing. But like I said, meditation is unique to every single person who does it. So when I present my meditations for you guys and I share that, that's just my style, right? It either fits you or it doesn't, and it's okay. So take what works, ditch the rest, always. That's always kind of how I want you guys to think about this. And so just becoming aware of the present moment is our goal. That's it. What's naturally going to occur, because we are wired for safety. Our brains are wired for safety. So one of the things we know is the first part of your brain that actually develops is the emergency broadcast system. That's what I call it. Meaning we start developing from back here forward when our brains are growing. And so we have this sort of reptilian thing going on. And what that means is it's just that we're always astute to being worried. Like, hey, I have to watch for, right, danger, safety. And so it kept us alive, which was great. When we were cave people, that was super awesome. Now that we're not cave people, it doesn't always serve us really great, okay? So we're always combating our thinking when we sit down to meditate. And the goal doesn't have to be to have no thoughts. Because what you'll do is you'll feel crazy, because it's really hard to sit down and have no thoughts because you're wired to do it, and that is okay. So accepting your mind where it is part of the process. Entering into meditation and being a student with the capacity to accept that some of it's going to be challenging is so important, and just accepting where you are in it and not getting engaged furthermore up in your head. Oh, this is so hard, I can't do this, I can't empty my head, so I'm failing. The minute that we start getting engaged in our thinking that way, we're stealing our experience of being in the present, okay? So if you start noticing that your thinking wants to get engaged and your thoughts start going and you go, oh, I'm trying to meditate, that's right. Totally okay, completely expected. And so the other thing I'm going to challenge, one, is it's okay just to work on that, just being present, and then when your thoughts take you away, just coming back. And your thoughts might take you away and then you'll come back. And your thoughts will take you away and then you'll come back, right? So even the most seasoned practitioners will find that I think their thoughts are going to kind of go off from time to time. And so sometimes we're just thinking about our day, we're planning, we're remembering things that have been going on. We might notice feelings kind of bubble up in us, and all those things are completely natural and normal. So one of the first things is just really giving yourself space and just knowing it's okay. Like, thoughts are going to come in, totally normal. Second thing I want to teach you about meditation is that it should be fun. So one of the things that I believe about my work and my practice is that everything we do can have a component of fun to it. And because we'll come back to it time and time again, right? We'll meditate more, we'll show up more to therapy. In my case, if I have clients coming to therapy, we'll show up more to do a practice, to do our workouts, to eat well, to do all of those things if there's some component of it that we keep fresh and enjoyable and fun. And so what I would tell you too is that your meditation doesn't have to look the same way every single day. And it took me a really long time to develop that concept. Like, I don't have to just show up and sit in the room and sit still and do this and do nothing for an hour. I don't have to do that. It doesn't have to feel that way or look that way. It can be really creative. And some days I might do a meditation where I feel like I need to move, and that's okay. I'm trying to adjust, you guys, I'm so sorry. I might need to move, right? And that's okay, and making that okay. So every single time you come to do a sit, make space for just, wherever you are, it is okay. And some days we might sit in silence. Some days we might do like a visualization, or having somebody do a guided meditation for us so we can just sit and listen to it and engage in that. We might do a music one. We're listening to music and just paying attention to the words and focusing on that. Some people chant. Some people do, active like Sanskrit prayers. There's everything under the sun available to you. Everything. So you get to be as creative as you want. Now when you begin, it's nice to have a little guidance, right? Because it's maybe foreign, or it's new, or you don't exactly know how to have a practice. And that's okay. So if you start kind of where you just are more comfortable doing the same thing for a little bit, maybe at a week at a time, bite off a small part of practice and just do that just to get yourself comfortable. And the next week, maybe incorporate something just a little bit different. But it's so important to listen to your instincts and your intuition. So sometimes I'll sit, and some days I feel like having incense, some days I don't. Some days I sit with an intention about my practice in terms of I'm thinking of other people, and so I donate my practice to them. I honor them in my practice. Some days I will flip one of my cards that I showed you, and I'll focus on that instead. Or I'm reading a personal development book, and I want to focus on a concept I'm reading about, okay? So there are no wrong ways to do it. And so I think that's really, really essential that we have that message, that we're not going to mess up meditation, that we get to show up and bring our humanity to the table, that some days are going to feel easy and some days are going to feel hard. A common misconception too, I think, about meditation could be that it's going to be always really peaceful. And I will tell you that my meditation has brought me an incredible amount of peace, but there's going to be days that are going to be hard. And if you're having a really difficult time with anything, maybe you're incredibly stressed with work, or you've got a loved one that's really sick, or you are going through divorce, or just like life happens to all of us, then we bring that right into the room with us. And so one of the things we can do is, when we're meditating, if things seem to bubble up to the surface, feelings or thoughts or our worries, what we want to do is we just kind of note it, and then we want to let it go. Right? But even in those moments when we'd like to be able to kind of be present and not necessarily be thinking, our thoughts are informing us, right? So our thoughts just inform us of where we are emotionally and mentally. So maybe some days are great, like I said, and we come in and we're very peaceful and we can be very present and it feels joyful and fulfilling. And then some days we come in and we go, man, am I stressed? And I'm just trying to let my thoughts go, and I just keep coming back to this work situation. And then just honor that. Just go there. If the feeling is right there, just honor the feeling. I recognize you, sadness. I recognize you, stress, or whatever it might be, right? And some days are going to be good and some days are going to be hard. And so the reason I say that is because if I sell you that meditation is always going to be like, awesome, right? And mostly it is, that's the truth. But sometimes it's not going to be. And that's okay to just normalize that. Like, yep, some days are going to be really great and some days are going to just be super hard. And that's just the way that it is. And I accept that, and that's okay with me. So you guys don't know me, but one of the things that I would like you to know about my personal, the way that I work. And like I said, I've been doing therapy for years, and I've specialized in treating teens and young adults, but also people who've experienced intense traumas. And so one of the things I've done my entire practice is incorporate humor in. And so humor is a super huge aspect of my work always. And it's why I say I think humor can be everywhere. Fun can be everywhere. In every aspect of our lives, we bring that and we keep our experiences fresh and enjoyable a little bit, even the hard ones, by incorporating and injecting a little bit of humor here and there when we can. And sometimes life can be really not funny, right? I mean, obviously I have spent hours and hours and hours with clients in my office talking about really challenging things. And I do believe that their experience of growth and their process is elevated when we can keep it a little bit lighter on occasion, when we can look for the humor in situations. And that doesn't always work, right? I mean, we have to moderate that. We understand too, there's moments we're just gonna have to sit in that grief and that pain, and that's okay. But there's lots of moments where we can find a way to access that humor inside of ourselves or in our lives, and it just takes the pressure out, right? The energy changes the minute that we start incorporating fun and humor into anything. And so that's definitely the way that I work. And so I incorporate that everywhere, right? Just everywhere I go. So that's kind of a little bit of history about meditation, some thoughts I have for you. Mechanically, it's pretty straightforward. You can sit up, and some people like to lie down when they do this. I recommend when you're a beginner that you sit up straight as much as you can. Even if you're on a comfy chair, that you kind of give your spine that nice, like erect sit-up posture, so that your breath moves really nicely. And you can sit with your legs crossed. You can sit with them in front of you. You can sit in a chair. If your hips and knees bother you, it is okay to sit in a chair. And that's perfectly accessible, right? Like I said, we can kind of meditate anywhere. So these are not requirements. They're just good places to kind of start. Some people like to keep their fingers like this, right? Or just palms up on their knees. And really it's kind of a symbol of like receiving. And people, when they do this, it's sort of like the concept is keeping the energy moving in your body. So that's kind of what this is. It's closing off our energy. We keep the energy inside our bodies. Do you need to do that? No. For a really long time, I practiced and I didn't do any of that stuff. So now I do it, but I didn't always. So it's up to you. So you can just put your hands on your knees. You can lay your palms up. You can do this if you want, whatever you like. And so you're just going to get comfortably seated as much as possible with a nice posture. Your eyes can be open or shut. For some people, if you're going to have your eyes open, you just want to have a soft gaze just a little bit down in front of you. So you might, like just right out, I'd say like a foot and a half in front of you. You can have a spot that you kind of keep your focus on. That's one thing. Or you can shut your eyes. I tend to get squirrely. So if I get really distracted with stuff going on, I'll come out of my meditation. So for me, I tend to do most of my meditation with my eyes shut. You do you. Try both. Some days I do have my eyes open, right? So again, it's playing with and messing around and trying on different kinds of meditation. You're not going to mess it up. So that's another thing you do. And then again, our focus always, the one that we can always do in meditation that is an aspect of your practice is your breath. And so we can always come back to our breath. Our breath coming in and our breath going out. Our breath coming in and our breath going out. And when I meditate, I actually breathe all in through my nose and all out through my nose. I don't tend to do the in through the nose and out through the mouth, but you could do either one, okay? I tend to keep my energy in, so I kind of do and it slows me down. So if I just breathe through my nose, right, there's some mechanics to this and some chemistry and some biology kind of associated with this. But if you just kind of slow things down, I like doing my breath in and out through my nose. If you're stuffed up, you can't do that, right? So then again, right guys, just be flexible. You don't have to do one thing. You're not going to mess up your meditation experience by doing it a little bit differently. So again, and you can have complete silence. Today I have some music going, totally up to you. So there is, again, sometimes it's nice to have quiet. Sometimes I listen to singing prayers, chants while I do my meditation. you get to do you. Whatever you want to do is perfectly great. So anyway, so I wanted to just kind of open up this concept of meditation and talk about it with any students and learners who are willing to kind of take this practice on. Why would you meditate? You meditate because it allows you the space to be present. And where that becomes particularly useful is in our everyday lives. So yes, you will hopefully find that you feel more rooted and grounded and at peace and aware and present when you go to meditate. Awesome, right? During the actual practice, okay? We hope to have a good experience, right? That's what brings us back. However, the goal is if we can be doing our meditation practice and take that off of our mats with us, if we can take our experience from our space and our presence into our lives, lots of things start to stack up for us in a good way. So it opens our awareness to our experiences. So I might catch myself having feelings or thoughts more readily. And I go, oh, that's not serving me, right? If I'm driving on the road and I'm really frustrated because somebody's going slow in front of me, I go, oh, I'm feeling really frustrated right now. Is that where I want to be right now? What do I want to do with this experience, right? So it allows us more awareness. Like we just get to sit, we get to interface, right? Our thoughts and our feelings and our experience, we get to interface that. We get to hold it a little bit different, if you will. So it slows us down, which is really awesome. It also changes your energy. So your energy will feel different. And so again, some of that that comes at all of us all the time, because it does, starts to feel a little bit less chaotic, and we can deal with that differently. So I can go, wow, you know, this is too much stimulation right now, like this is too loud, or this is too much, or these people having this conversation over here, it's distracting me, or whatever. It allows us that space to decide we're going to step out of that a little bit and kind of go, oh, okay, so my energy is needing maybe more quiet, maybe I need to be energized, maybe I want to go hang out and laugh and have a good time. But there's an awareness that your energy starts to flow a little bit differently. And so I love that. It definitely helped me have better energy. I think it deeply increases your focus. So all of a sudden, you're also much more able to sit still and to come to things that you're doing with much more focus and energy on that task. And so you're more effective. So if you want to be more effective at your job, or you want to be a more effective partner, or you want to be more effective parenting, or volunteering, or whatever it is that you do that floats your boat, right? Whatever it is, you want to show up and be more present. And people feel that. So other people, when I talk about your energy, people feel that you are really, truly present and spending time with them. They love that. It feels great, right? It feels validating. And so another huge component is that, you know, genuine focus that we end up finding. So I strongly encourage that, you know, you see that those benefits come with time, and that right away, hopefully you'll find some peace when you do meditation, but over time, as you consistently practice, you'll begin to see more and more of these things come forward in your life, the benefits. And so it's just stress reliever. It's going to help you sleep better. There's so many components of meditation that are hugely beneficial to people. And so I pretty much encourage everybody across the board. I actually really do. Unless I know somebody has clearly said that they're like absolutely not going to do meditation. And like, guess what we're going to work on? Because meditation is so good for you. And so that's a little bit about meditation, the mechanics, the space. You don't need a fancy space, right? So we're just going to recap. You don't need a fancy space. You don't need a lotus candle, although maybe you should have one. You don't have to do anything crazy to have a meditation practice. And so don't worry about those parts of it, really just showing up and being a learner, right? So you notice that. Being consistent. Trying to do a little bit of practice when you're starting. If it's a minute, do a minute. If it's 5 minutes, do 5 minutes. You can set a timer, okay? You don't have to be sitting for 20-minute practices or 30-minute practices every day. That might not be in your wheelhouse yet. And it might not be something you feel like you need yet. And then you start practicing, you're like, oh, I love 15 to 20-minute practices now. That's like my favorite. So it used to be 5 minutes when I started, right? So making space to play with meditation, right? That flexibility. Right? So we're going to talk about, we want to be a learner, we want to be flexible, we want to just go in and feel what's right for us, intuitively listening to that, and remembering just to practice and not be hard on yourself, to accept yourself wherever you show up. You're going to bring your humanity and your life to the table. That's what we all do. Our practices are full of our life. We can't help it. That's just the way that it goes. And that is okay. That's okay. It's super normal and it's good. And so you just show up with that open-mindedness attitude of, I'm just going to give this a try. I'm going to see how this goes, and I'm going to respect myself in the process. And so that's something that I want to talk about with you guys. I think is really important, just adopting those attitudes as you go in, and incorporating other things as you practice, right? Now I have a really lovely space in my home that's dedicated to this practice, but I didn't for a year. So, right, and I was still meditating. My meditation wasn't less worthy because I didn't have a fancy space, right? And this isn't a fancy space. These are things that have meaning to me. Everything that's out in my meditation space has meaning to me, deep meaning. And I have some of my personal development here that I like. I have books, you know, so if I have a book I'm working on, sometimes I'll end my meditation and I'll do a little reading. So I do what works for me, and I want you to do the same thing. So anyway, I encourage you to give this a try, right? So start in small bites. Be kind to yourself, be willing to be a learner, work on consistency, and then be flexible and kind to yourself about it. Some days, like I said, are going to feel really pretty good, and some days are maybe going to feel not so great or easy. And all of that is completely an aspect of meditation. And if I didn't believe that you would have significant benefits by doing this, I would not ask you to do so, right? And I have told you it definitely changed my life. And when I was in the middle of a lot of turmoil and some intense stress in my life, this definitely saved me. This practice is, and that's why I'm so dedicated to it now, is seeing the benefits that it brought me when I really needed it, is exactly why I encourage people to do it all the time now. So anyway, so I hope this was helpful, and I strongly encourage you to give it a try and see what you find. Be willing to learn. Be a lifelong learner, right? Be willing to do that. Be flexible with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Accept yourself. Go in and give this a shot, and let's see what happens for you. So good luck, and happy meditation, love, light to all of you.